This is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio, and I'm here with James Durbin of the band Durbin. How you doing today, James?
I'm doing very, very well. How about yourself, George?
Excellent. Thanks for asking.
Awesome.
If I knew absolutely nothing about your project Durbin, how would you describe the music to me?
Classic heavy metal. Classic heavy metal in that vibe of, late Sabbath, those Dio records, some Priest, like defenders of the faith, with a little bit of Sad Wings of Destiny just for artsiness. But yeah, probably in that realm, a dash of Blind Guardian, a hair of Manowar. What am I missing? Toe of Iron Maiden, and
Right.
Yeah, all within that classic heavy metal realm.
Awesome. And your new album comes out on February 12th, 2021 under the Frontiers music label. It's called The Beast Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a meaning behind the title of the album?
Yeah, there is and there isn't. There is some, of course, as with anything. There's definitely meaning. When I wrote the song, I was inspired by an article about a Japanese professional wrestler by the name of Jushin Thunder Liger, and he was retiring. And I found this article on him with one of the subtitle of it was The Beast Awakens. And I was like, oh, that sounds metal. That sounds really cool. Like what in what context is this? And it was about his alter ego, Kieran Liger, which was him with his mask removed. And it wasn't about who is the man underneath the mask. It was who is the monster beneath the mask. And so for the previous 2.5 years, I'd been singing for Quiet Riot, and there was, there's the metal mask and that sort of thing. So, being gone from that and removing that is now like, okay, what does the monster beneath my mask look like? What is setting off and creating more music, but wanting to rebrand myself just as Durbin, as a band, as metal, back to that classic heavy metal, of what does that sound like? What is that monster? And so this is my own awakening, but it is also for the story that pertains to the album's seminal character, the Prince of Metal. It's his story. It's his own awakening. It's him actually going into the cave and, slaying the beast and tasting its blood and gaining the ability to speak with birds, which summons the giant crow monster on the album cover. It's, it's all interlocked and intermingled as such those traditional classic heavy metal albums are.
So this is a concept album?
It is and it isn't. I wanted to write something that could be a concept album if you want to follow it. But if you do not want to follow it and you just listen to the album without caring about, anything that happens, they're just kick-ass songs. It's just kick-ass metal, And if you listen to the lyrics closely enough, you can string together the concept that is, going through. But it doesn't have to.
Okay. The first video you put out, I believe, was The Prince of Metal. And that video was sort of a family affair. You got everybody involved. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. The Prince of Metal. My wife and I, we had come up with an idea for this music video of myself and an orc and our son playing the boy. So it's different. The video as well is very open-ended. We see a boy, a small boy, like in the woods, like a little, fantasy character, like something out of Dungeons and Dragons or a hobbit. He's very hobbit-like in his haircut, right, and his nose, because he's mine. But he looks like a little Harry Potter, really. But so he's running around through the woods and he's playing and he's making believe. And we see him hit his sword against the tree, and he brings his sword back, and he's now a full-grown man with a big beard. And it's him playing pretend, and he brings out another toy of the orc, and he's fighting with the toys, and then the orc and the prince actually start to fight. And everything that the boy does with the toys, the people are doing as well. But it's never explained if this is his imagination, if he's creating his future, or if what he's doing is having some effect on someone else in another realm.
Ah,
There's the fun of that too. It's very open ended. But yeah, my wife and I, we wrote the treatment. I drew. I've actually got the storyboards that I drew. I hand drew all the storyboards, and then we went and filmed it. And luckily, here in Santa Cruz, there is a literal band of orcs called a band of orcs, and yeah, full blown. Some kids were out here in the woods by this place called the Mystery Spot, and they were playing D&D, and they rolled a 7 and called upon an actual band of orcs, and they opened a realm, and this band of orcs popped through and slain them. I think only one survived. Sad story, but they weren't, children. We're not talking about like, Anakin going in and killing all the younglings or nothing. But
right.
yeah, so I was able to contact their leader, Chieftain Gronk, the orc shaman, and he was able to participate in the video and spare me. I am now spared under the mighty rule. Hail Gazoroth. Yes. So, I've learned. I've learned their whole shtick too.
I was going to say only in California.
Yeah, right. It's the good weed. Yeah, it's the old Toby, as Tolkien called it.
So you got another video out, the Kings Before You. The song features Chris Jericho. How did his involvement come about?
I became friends with Jericho from American Idol. He was on Dancing with the Stars at the same time. They filmed in the same studio. So literally separated by a hallway. So imagine this side of my phone camera is where Idol films, and the other side of the phone is where Dancing with the Stars films. So Hulk Hogan had come out to let me know that I was going on tour and going through to the next rounds on live TV results show. And Jericho crossed that sacred line the next day and came in and was like, "What's up, Durbin?" And so we hit off a friendship from there. And over the years, it's been almost 10 years since my Idol run, season 10. So that was back in 2011. And we're on that 10th year now. So it's just kind of like a great full circle to come back to with Chris's involvement. And I asked him, hey, if you were to hypothetically sing on a good friend of yours' concept heavy metal album, what kind of character would you want to be? And he said either a villain or a wizard. And I was like, I just wrote a song about a wizard. You got yourself a deal, buddy. So, sitting high atop the mountain. He is sitting high atop the mountain over all there is to see. The dark side of a rainbow touched the earth beside me, and from the sky descends the wizard as he spreads his hands apart, manifesting right before me, holding out the sacred heart. He says, you are the defender of the land, from the hills to the horizon, from the holy to the desperate and the damned. You are the kings before you that reigned before you, became the heir to the throne. And like the kings before you, I can assure you will never stand alone. No. And he was on board. So, it was a good pitch. And then Phil Demmel, of course, plays lead guitar on that song. And it was in the performance video. Jericho is very, very busy, and he just started a clothing line, and he's working on a book and doing the audio and wrestling and making a record and all that stuff. So he wasn't able to be in it to record video. I got him to record audio of him backstage before an AEW show, of him being saying the bits and all that. I was like, I'm going to create a crystal ball, and I'm going to put his glowing face in it. So these things, like these visualizer videos, have been a really fun way for me to just create more content for it and open up that space. But I met Phil Demmel through Chris Jericho at a Fozzy show, where we both ended up on stage with Chris and his band doing AC/DC's Thunderstruck, and we stayed in touch ever since. And the song came up, and it just had the perfect section for somebody like him, and for him, he really brought so much just veteran musicianship to that song, and really played where it needed to be played in. My band, I got to take a minute to say about my band on the album of Barry Sparks, another veteran who's played with music veteran, who's played with Dokken and Ted Nugent and Michael Schenker and Bees, this incredible giant Japanese sensation that only plays stadiums, called Bees, B''Z. And but Barry's just killer, brought so much to the record, as well as Mike Vanderhule, the drummer, who's been with Y&T for the past 15 years, and was trained under Steve Smith. So it's really just surrounded by, seasoned brothers, on this. So
absolutely. Now you got Chris Jericho on a song. You mentioned Jushin Thunder Liger. I'm guessing that you're a professional wrestling fan.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. Not too many people know Jushin Thunder Liger. I remember when he debuted in WCW.
Right. Yeah.
long time ago.
Yes.
The album's on Frontiers. Obviously, you were on Frontiers for your time with Quiet Riot. Is that what kind of led to your own little deal?
It did. I was, of course, we made those albums and they were released under Frontiers, and the second of which of those albums, we went to Milan and performed at the Frontiers Music Fest and recorded the live One Night in Milan album and video. And but that I didn't have any. I had zero conversations with anybody at Frontiers. Like, I met them, I shook their hands, said thank you so much for bringing this out here, and that was kind of it. But made enough of an impression between what I was able to do on those albums, be it not what I wanted to do with music that's being released, but what I still showed for and still brought my A game on those records within those confines. Was enough for them to want to continue working. And when I did make my leave from QR, they were the first email in my inbox, and kind of led to them saying, what kind of album do you want to make? Or for me saying, what kind of album do you want me to make? And them coming back and saying, what kind of album do you want to make? And saying, like, classic heavy metal. And they were like, we want that for you, and we want that for you for us. So, it really worked out perfect.
Awesome. So touring is off the table, obviously. So do you have any ideas for online stuff or something similar?
We've got a few things we're considering. So, that's great. Fortunately it is still like in that concept album area. It's maybe less visual. It's just audio. But it's definitely a song that I implore people to, if you indulge in cannabis, grab your favorite blend and put on the album. It'll definitely take you somewhere. And be it sativa, indica, or hybrid, or otherwise, or edibles, or CBD, or just a nice case of hazies. But whatever it is, or water, or tea, or coffee, whatever your poison is, you can find it. But I just wanted to make like a killer album, and hope that people enjoy it however they're able to, and not necessarily like restrict it to something that will have to be played live. We're all restricted at this point, so it's just trying to make killer music that is a great representation of us, so that when we are able to be given the green light to go back, like, this is something that's in its infancy. This is something that hasn't played a single live show. So, we'll see what that is when we're able to see what it is. And, hopefully we'll, in the meantime, be doing the groundwork to, give it wings.
So with this album, you had more control, I'm assuming, of the writing, the recording, and putting it all out.
150%, yeah.
Did you have lesser control when you're working with Quiet Riot or your albums under I forget the name of the management company of American Idol, but your first few albums versus and Quiet Riot versus you now?
Yeah, I'll clear that all up. So with Idol, I definitely had influence with Idol. I was able to tell them, more of, here's what I would like it to sound like. They, weren't able to allow me to do that completely. So, it still had to have some pop and radio. They went to rock with like one single. I think we went to rock radio first with SmackDown, or not SmackDown, with Stand Up. And we also had a great tie-in with the NFL. And it's still, the song is still played at hockey games and football games and that sort of thing. Still it was, but it had a good run, but if that's all it ended up being. But I did that, and minimal control. My second album, I went to Nashville and wrote for 3 months with James Michael from 6 a.m. And and that album ended up being scrapped in place for them wanting me to do a pop album. So, you know, I looked at like, okay, well, I got to feed my family and take care of my family. And this is another pawn in the game, you know? So it's, you know, I weighed my options and decided that, hell, fucking, I'm making a pop record. And can I swear?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool. And I guess I found out there, but so after that album, I went independent and I made 3 albums on my own. Independent. My wife and I, we started our own independent record label called Wild Vine Records, and I made a Christmas EP and had full control. I did my first full-length solo album, Riot on Sunset, and had full control. And even the one that I made when I was with Quiet Riot, which was Homeland, which was like an Americana singer-songwriter album, full control over everything. I mean, for Homeland, I wrote every song. I mixed it, engineered it, produced it, mastered it. My wife did the photography. I did the photo design and the album cover design. We designed all the merch. We got it printed. We shipped everything. Like, we're completely hands-on, you know, old school with it. So, but that was really, really awesome. That was really, really great. I mean, with QR, I was able to write lyrics and melodies. That was it.
Yeah.
To pre-written music that couldn't be changed whatsoever. You know, and if something wasn't liked, it was said that it wasn't liked. So there was that too. So, yeah, you know, I mean, that's all I got to say about that, really. I mean, yeah. And with this album, with the Beast Awakens, it's back to, you know, I'm still working with a label, but Frontiers is like, they're there when you need them. They're
right.
there when, you know, if they think that you've gone a little too far one side, you know, they'll be like, all right, well, let's, you know, get back on course a little bit. And that only happened once, which, you know, maybe twice, but no more than that. But, you know, that's still with a label, but, you know, compared to what I dealt with a label in the past, this is like, you know, this is heaven. This is great. This is really a wonderful working relationship with a great label that believes in the record and was stoked with almost every song I sent. So it's, you know, I didn't write an excess of material for this album. I wrote each song individually to be included on the album. And I've written albums the other way where you write a ton of songs and then you pick from them. And there's something special about this. There's something special about writing it like you would write a book. You know, you wouldn't just write a bunch of random chapters and then choose the chapters that fit.
Right.
You know, let you know, A&R pick like, well, we think this chapter is great. We're gonna stick it right here at the beginning of the story. You know, but sir, that's a B-side. No, you know, just all that stuff. There wasn't really much of that, like push and pull, and it was really, really wonderful, really, really great. You know, it was up to me to pick the album art, and I did the album design and everything, and put the whole booklet and everything in credits and everything. I did all that stuff, you know, designed all that stuff, designed the merch still, and wrote every song 100%, every riff, every vocal, every lyric, every melody. And you know, it's been awesome.
Excellent. It's a good album. I have been listening to it most of the week. It's a good rock and roll album. It's a good classic heavy metal, like you described it.
Thank you.
How did you originally get the gig in Quiet Riot?
I had gotten a call from Frankie 2016. And I had just signed on to do be a part of a Las Vegas residency show. Like, literally had just signed the paperwork that day, and then Frankie called me and was like, you know, we'd be interested in bringing you in Quiet Riot and so forth, and said, yeah, that'd be cool. But I just signed on for this thing, so like, you know, maybe I can do like these shows on weekdays and then come out with you guys on weekends, because their touring schedule was weekend warrior stuff. And he said, no, we can't. No, absolutely not. That would not happen. This needs to be priority number one. And I said, oh, okay. Well, you know, sorry to hear that. You know, maybe we'll see you down the line. Whatever. You know, good luck. all the best. And so I went to Vegas and I did that show, and they found somebody else. But while I was in Vegas, I reconnected with Alex, with the guitar player for QR. Funny enough. So we ended up on stage together at some after party, and we're like, oh, there's something here. We definitely connect. He was married to my old attorney.
Huh?
So I had met him a few times, and they were still really close friends and still are. So we hit it off, and we started writing, and we ended up writing an EP, and we're recording it in Vegas when Frankie sent a song and was like, we didn't use this on the QR album that we just made. Maybe you guys might be able to use it or something, and so I went to Alex. We were about to wrap for dinner and then go back and record some more on this EP. And it was called Maps to the Hollywood Scars Volume 1, which is out there on all streaming. We put it out independently. And I said, wouldn't it be funny if I wrote the lyrics to the song and we did a one-take vocal, and you could do a one-take guitar solo, and we'll send it to Frankie before he gets home. And we did. And I wrote the song in 10 minutes, and Alex played a solo on it. And that song ended up kind of being like my audition, as well as the first single from the album and the first QR music video in 29 years. Like,
right.
I would have spent a little more time on it, but had I known all that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's funny how, those kinds of things, if you really want something, if you think you really want something, there's, and it doesn't come around the first time. If you keep thinking that you really want something, then it could manifest again, but be careful what you wish for. But I'm very thankful for everything. I have shared so many great shows and memories with those guys, and celebrating people's birthdays on tour and crazy things, things I can't talk about, but probably said too much already. But just, I don't know. I wish them all the best. They're great guys. And, Frankie's last wish was for the band to continue. And I hope they do. If the band could continue without Kevin and Rudy and Carlos, who's to say it can't continue without Frankie? And, it's a band, and it's the music, and the music lives on. What's going to happen?
Right.
What happens with, there's cover bands that have cruises. There's cover bands that have their own cruise. There's cover bands that go around, like Foreigner is a cover band, and they have tons of hits, and they've got like 17 number ones, and like on occasion a single original member, and still sell out the Hollywood Bowl. So why is anybody else inept from it? But yeah, I wish them all the best, and it's classic music, and if it's good, which it is, it'll continue.
There's a point where the music becomes bigger than the band.
Exactly. And there's few people I've found at concerts, even playing with them, that knew who any of us were.
Right.
There's people when Frankie wasn't playing with us that, when we had Johnny Kelly with us, who is playing for them now from Danzig and Typo Negative, like my last tours with them were with Johnny Kelly and with Mike Dupke from Wasp and Dee Snider. And there were so many, like, not with Mike because he looks completely different, but with Johnny, there were people like, yo, what's up, Frankie? Great show tonight, and it's Johnny Kelly. He's like 2 feet taller and, 25 years younger. And, it's just like, but, it's the idea of it. I never, tried to look like Kevin. So I never got anybody saying, great show tonight, Kevin. Like, people know that Kevin passed and respect that. But, just making it a point to like bring that energy and that affection for what you're doing in that moment. Like, I didn't want to just stand up there and go through the motions. I really wanted to treat each show like it was its own moment, and
Absolutely.
Reach out to the fans. And if it required twirling the mic stand and catching it in your teeth or any of that stuff, like, if it takes another extra trip to the dentist or something, it's like, it's worth it for the show. It's you gotta bring that to the music, because that's what it was born and bred in.
So you've shared the stage with numerous musicians since American Idol. What are some? I was going to ask you what's your favorite, but nobody can ever pick their favorite.
I can
so
pick
I'll just ask you, what are some moments that stand out to you as like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm doing this or sharing the stage with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, since Idol, I mean, during Idol, it was Zakk Wylde, it was Judas Priest. I mean, even for some of the episodes, like, you know, when Hulk Hogan came out that night, before that happened, Stevie Wonder came out and we all sang Happy Birthday to Steven Tyler. But we sang Stevie Happy Birthday. So it was like, oh my God, I'm singing backup for Stevie Wonder now. And then playing with Bob Babbitt of the original Funk Brothers on Idol stage was killer. Playing with Bob Babbitt in studio, recording live with the Ray Chu Band and being produced by Dionne that was incredible. You know, did that really happen? I can't handle it. I haven't thought of that one in a while. But wow, man, got to think of it. Gosh, I've performed with Sammy Hagar a number of times. That's been really, really killer because I didn't get to following Idol or even during Idol, but sang his song with Zakk Wylde. And so I've gotten to sing heavy metal with Sammy like 3 times. And
Nice.
Just hanging out with him has been great. And through him, I met, it was this guy, Howard Leese, great guitar player, played with
From Heart.
Yeah, from Heart, and plays with Bad Company now. More recently, and you know, talking with Howard on like we played this Rock Legends cruise QR we did, and it was headlined by Bad Company and Sammy Hagar. So that's where I got to sing with Sammy for the first 2 times. Was on the cruise, and also meeting Paul Rogers, who's another, you know, vocal hero, and you know, going up to Paul and Paul being like, oh, this is Howard. This is the young man you were telling me about. I've heard so much about you. He played me some of your performance from yesterday. It was quite good. You know, keep it up. Like, oh my God, like, this is great because I'm still a fan. You know, in the wrestling world, it's like I'm marking out. You know, and it's I still mark out. I still do. I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of my, you know, human experience that I've had so far, and as I look at my life from, you know, the outside looking in from time to time and see like, whoa, that's really cool. You know, and it keeps me youthful about it. Not youthful, maybe childish, maybe just like cherub like. No, just no, I don't know, it just keeps me interested. And it keeps that fan has never gone away. You know, I just unearthed some pictures. There's a gentleman that originally played Boba Fett passed away, and I remember I met him when I was a kid, and I found the pictures and of him and Kenny Baker that played R2-D2, and just like looking at that stuff of like, wow. So I was a kid, I was a fan, and like here I am, and I get to do like voiceover work with Disney on Star Wars projects. You know, that's like another thing. Like, whoa, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I would have ever thought, but it's just, you know, living in that wonder, which goes back to the album of like living in that wonder of fantasy and, you know, lore and mythology. And it got me back into learning all these different, I happened to check out like a giant stack of mythology books and Norse and Greek mythology and Tolkien and the Silmarillion, which I couldn't even open, but too many pages. But The Hobbit and, you know, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I've read the Harry Potter series so many times, and but just living in that, you know, in that wonder and pulling an album from it, you know, creating something that doesn't exist that could exist. Who knows? It could exist in some far off, distant realm, some far off place, but you know, having the ability to tap into that, I feel like has worked to my my good fortune.
Excellent. It's been great talking to you today. I wish you the best of luck in your album.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to it. Thanks for giving it a chance. I just thank you, and implore anybody that's listening and is interested by this conversation to check it out. You know, if you listen to one song and you hate it, thanks for listening to one song. You know, really, you know, it takes a lot to get people to believe in something and to give something a shot and try out something new without having an expectation. You know,
right?
Like a real expectation. But you know, try to have no expectation and listen to it and see how you feel. So, just thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You take care, man.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Bye.